Welcome to the Live from South College podcast. I'm your host, Kathleen Stockham. The Live from South College podcast is your source for all South College activity, including new student information, deep dives into our 100+ programs and concentration, tools of the trade, and even live on location from all of our campuses. Great interviews with faculty, staff, deans, and hear even more from South College students and alumni in their own words. From certificates all the way to doctoral degrees, catch up with Live from South College for the lighter side of helping your dreams find direction. My guest today has really seen the very worst and the very best of times in the past few weeks. From a once in a generation flood and devastation of Hurricane Helene in an unlikely place to the determination, perseverance, and hard work of her team, students, and colleagues. For our Good Deeds segment, I am pleased to have as my guest Dr. Danielle Kwasnik, president of South College Asheville. Welcome, Dr. Kwasnik. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
All right. So first off, tell me how you are and how things are at campus today.
Things are wonderful. It's amazing to reflect on what we've gone through over the last 7 weeks and to realize we've been back on campus for 5 weeks. It was truly a flood of a lifetime, something that's never been seen here in Asheville. So I think the best word to describe how we are overall, faculty, staff, and students, is resilient. I have seen some amazing things that have come from, like you mentioned, the devastation of the flooding, and something that was completely unexpected and has never happened in this region before. We're nestled in the mountains of Western North Carolina, and the lore and legend of this area is that the mountains protect this community. And unfortunately, this was one time that did not play out and did not come through. So we were not protected, and we saw a lot of devastation, destruction. But then what rose from that, what came from that, was the resilience of the people of this community, and it was amazing. So campus, we were very fortunate, did not have very much impact at all. We had just a couple little things. We had some damage to our creek area, but the building itself was in good shape.
Oh, okay. So take me back. Take me and talk to me a little bit about before the storm, the preparation and those first few crucial 2 to 3 days afterwards. Take us there.
Sure, sure. So what had happened that week is we had a heavy rainstorm that had hit Asheville. And then coming behind that was a hurricane that was coming from the Florida area and had hit down in Florida. So we had a great deal of rain and saturation prior to the hurricane actually hitting the region. So once the hurricane came through, being from South Florida and living through many, many hurricanes, we just kind of thought it was a heavy rain. It wasn't much. And then when the rain came through Thursday night on the 26th, and on the 27th is when we realized that I came out to check on campus around noon that day and drove over some areas and rivers that were completely flooded, especially the Swananoa River. I think we have one of our faculty, our administrators that lives in Swananoa, and she jokingly says that now everyone knows how to say it. They never did before. It's an unincorporated area of the western region, and the Swananoa River had, as well as the French Broad River, had swollen so much so that it was almost about to take over one of the main thoroughways and highways. And I drove over that with my daughter, who was in town, and to come check on campus. And that was when I realized, and I actually became very scared and frightened. As I've mentioned, I've grown up through many hurricanes, Cat 3s, Cat 4s, living in Florida. And to have something come in, it was a rain event, it was a water event, but there was nowhere to go. And that was the reality that we realized. So we still had cell service at the time, and we were able to still be contacting and doing outreach. I was calling our facilities because there was an issue with the locks in the building, only to within 1 hour, we lost all communication with outside of this area, as did everyone, because all of cell service went down. So suddenly kind of knowing what was happening and being connected, we all were all disconnected very quickly. And it was a real eye opener to how reliant we are on our cell phones to communicate. We no longer have landlines, so we weren't able to call out. And that's when the reality of everything really started hitting, was that Friday afternoon when we no longer knew what was going on. We had no internet, no television, and even the radio stations were not tuned into publishing anything about what was happening. So we really didn't know what was going on. So that was kind of the immediate. And then we had a situation where we realized we had another child that was going to be traveling to the region. So we drove and got out on Saturday morning and went to Charlotte. And that's when I started to learn about the missing and those that we had the loss of life that had been experienced in this area, and those that were missing. But being in Asheville and not knowing how, we tried for 4 hours to get out of Asheville on Friday, and realized we were kind of stuck in a bubble because of all the roads that had flooded and washed away. There was no way out, and there was no way to leave, and everyone that was here was not able to get out. It was really surreal. Like I said, for 4 hours, and we drove down roads where trees were down, half the road was you weren't able to cross it. There were parts of the roads that were broken away, and realized that we couldn't get out. And Saturday morning, we were under a curfew. So as soon as that curfew was lifted at 7 a.m., my family and I made the choice to leave and try to get to Charlotte, North Carolina, where our son was, because we had again lost communication and realized that our family, friends, and relatives didn't know if we were dead or alive, because we had already known at that point that there was a loss of life in those missing. So that was Saturday. Those first few days, the first critical issue was to determine that all of our faculty, staff, and students were safe and accounted for. At the time, only myself and one other faculty member who happened to have a residence in Charlotte were able to communicate with one another. She happened to be a PA faculty, so she immediately started working to reach out to their over 160 students and their faculty and staff. So that was a huge burden that was taken off of me at that time, and a huge help. And want to commend that individual for being able to do that and just immediately stepping up and taking action. And that was the reality of what needed to happen. Again, the safety of our faculty, staff, and students was paramount. So the first thing that I did was start using our emergency alert system to send out text messages and emails. Of course, they weren't getting them. Cell service was spotty, so at times I was getting responses back. So by Sunday, I had heard from all but 6 or 7 faculty and staff, and they were safe and accounted for. And then at that point, I reached out to emergency contacts for those 6 or 7 people, and very thankful and grateful that by Monday morning at 7 a.m., all faculty and staff were accounted for. We had also started sending out an email, and same thing, email, text, phone alerts to to almost 700 students, about 600 and something students, to again verify that they were accounted for. That was a much bigger undertaking. And I was very fortunate at that point that our other campuses jumped in to assist and help us. So we had multiple people from multiple locations that were helping with outreach and tracking that information. It was a time as a leader, we constantly say that we're supported by our campuses, and we try to tell people we can't do this alone. And it was a moment of realization that, myself and one other person could not possibly manage all of this. So the campuses, we immediately, my supervisor, our chancellor, we had a meeting of a leadership meeting to be able to talk to what do we need, what can we do, how can we help. Our chancellor actually comes from the Western North Carolina region, so he has a lot of heart that is still here, and he was very caring and giving about this community, so it was very helpful. But that was really the main thing. Was the only concern was for individual safety and being able to find out that everyone was okay. And it was a really stressful time. When I look back on it, it was just work, 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 get it done. I now look back and realize the stress of that, because it was very concerning that we might have had a loss of a student, faculty, or staff member at that time.
I'm trying to wrap my head around everything that you've just talked through. I mean, I cannot imagine what that must be like. And, one of the things that I love, and you sort of underline this, is kind of that wolf pack mentality that we have here at South College across all of our campuses. And what I love about our institution is that kind of all in wagon circling. That I think we're really, really good at for helping out our fellow staff and faculty and students at other campuses. I know here in Knoxville and of course across all of our campuses, and we have so many photos on social media. You see the vans and the SUVs being loaded up with supplies and water and fundraising and all the other things and coordinating deliveries. And of course, getting deliveries to the area was challenging in and of itself. You already talked about the roads getting out, but the roads getting in were also, challenged in that way. I mean, how did it feel from your end across 7 states, all of these arms and hands, and because it doesn't compare, obviously, to what you and your team experienced directly, but I knew that that had to feel really good to know that, we've kind of we've got you, we've got your back, and everyone came together.
Yeah, that was immediate. I think I've said multiple times that first week, I'm not going to cry yet, but absolutely, I've never. I'm a terrible delegator, so I'm one that just gets out and does. And but it was a time where I constantly had to rely on others, and I didn't have to ask. They were already there. I always say, and I tell people I always said when I joined South College, I thought that we were named South College because we were in the South. Only later during my interview process did I find out that that was our chancellor's last name. And when I say that we are part of a family, we truly are. And I talk about that all of the time. And it is such a familial organization that I feel fortunate to be a part of. And it was amazing, those that stepped up to help us and to give. And it still continues to this day. As I mentioned, we're several weeks, we're almost 2 months post. We had another free coffee truck this week for our faculty, staff, and students that was made possible by fundraising from our other campuses. We had people drove over in packed Jeeps and brought things to us when they'd come to visit. We had shipments that came in. It was truly amazing. Our focus and goal was to reopen, and it was a hard thing to make that decision. And honestly, what really happened was we got power back relatively quickly, and then we got internet back. And so immediately we opened our building for just 4 hours a day so that anyone that wanted to come in and utilize the building, the internet, we didn't have water at the time, so we had to have alternate opportunities for facilities. But it was a place to be able to come in and come use your phone, come use your computer, come be here.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate also that our chancellor made the immediate decision to not delay anything in regards to payroll. No matter how many hours someone was able to work or not, he was able to commit that no one lost payroll. And many people lost their jobs in this community, and the devastation of that is what we're still feeling. And we're trying to help people right now find ways to find new careers because of the displacement of their jobs. So we kind of have had a shift of people moving from hospitality to healthcare, and how can we help you move to a completely different industry? But that's also part of helping hand type of profession. It was just astounding. And like I said, I am a doer. I am somebody that doesn't like to rely on people. And again, I didn't have to ask. People just jumped in and offered and gave and did. And no matter what time of day it was that I needed something, they were there. It was late in the morning. I remember emailing you, Kathleen, and saying, I might be overthinking. I'm either overthinking or underthinking. I'm not sure. Let me know. And you were able just to kind of help talk me through kind of what was going on. And we had also the amazing thing, when I say that resilience is the theme, we had a few of our staff that said, I can't not work. We've got to help. I've got to help students. And as I said, there was no internet, no working cell phones at the time. They were spotty. One went to another state, one went to the Charlotte region where I was. There were probably 6 of us, and some of us even got together that were in Charlotte because they wanted to work. They wanted to talk to our students. They wanted to make sure people were okay. And that was a decision that was made on their own. There was no guidance on that. That was just how much people care about working here. And again, when I talk about being part of a family, we are. And no matter what, family, you have good days, you have bad days, but when there's a person in need, you jump in to help. And that's exactly what happened here in Asheville, as well as at all of our sister campuses around the Southeast. And I've always talked about being part of a multi-campus institution and what benefits there are. This was a benefit I never even could have imagined in my life.
Yeah, I love that so much, and it definitely encompasses who we are collectively as a team. So let's talk about the students for a minute. What is one compelling story that you've heard regarding students and kind of what they went through? I mean, can you recall a particular story that a student has relayed of what they went through?
Yeah. We had we had several students that were displaced, either lost their home completely,
Wow.
or their home was damaged and they weren't able to go back. Um, and we had a couple students, I want to tell you one story I think that kind of really describes a lot of what this felt like. I was talking to someone within the first couple of days, and the media really started picking up the story on Monday. And one of my close friends called and they're like, "How are you okay right now?" And I'm like, "Right now, the bar is I'm alive." The loss of life is what's been devastating. And we were very fortunate that we did not lose any of our students, but we had students that experienced loss of life. And that was difficult. And we were very fortunate because of the fact that we have so many healthcare professions. Some of our nursing faculty were called back to work. So we had a student that it might be a familiar story because it was one that has been on national news. We had a student who was on the roof of her home, and her parents were with her and her 7-year-old son. And they were in process of being rescued, and the rescuers were there. And she took a picture of her mom and dad on the roof and sent it to her other two sisters. And right after that moment, very shortly after, the roof collapsed. And the mother, the father, our student, and our student's 7-year-old son were swept into the river. Um, Fortunately, the student was caught up in some branches and was kind of stuck. And that is what saved her life because unfortunately, she lost both her mother, her father, and her 7-year-old son. Um, Again, working with Spotty Cell Service and knowing this, we immediately were able to talk to nursing faculty. Our nursing faculty, those who kind of work part-time here at local hospitals, were called in, and many of them were working full-time at the hospitals to help with all of the devastation that what our community had experienced. And so our nursing faculty were there and were able to check on her. She wasn't awake at the time, so they were able to be there at the moment of when that was happening to help our student. And after everything, we were able to work with the student sisters who came down and helped. They are from Asheville, from the community, and we even found out our registrar was very close friends with one of the sisters, and that was devastating. And the impact of that to our campus community, but to her cohort of students. There was a lot of extra love and care that needed to go into what we do. I always say that in terms of supporting our students, people say, we got to stop hand holding. We're going to hold their hand all the way to graduation day, from the day they walk in to the day they graduate. And I watched other students just share that love and feelings. There was another student, same program, amazingly, both nursing students, who was a mother of three, a single mother of three who lost her home. We continue to rally. That student was able to stay enrolled, which was amazing. The other student wants to continue, but for now she's not living here. And we have been very clear that we're here for her when and if she's ready to come back. But one of our other students, a single mom, she lost her home, and we are still working to help that student and her cohort. And I've seen people, again, it's an amazing thing to see people kind of step up. One of the things that, she was able to secure an RV. And last week, the nursing faculty came and it's like, she's back, she's here. She didn't have to drop out, which that was amazing. I want to tell you a little bit about what the reaction was on the academic side. How do you persevere, right? We expected to lose, honestly, more students than we did, but I realized because of the love and compassion from everyone in this building all the way to our chancellor and all of the other leaders, because of that love and compassion that was given, there was a lot of grace given. We were able to delay some of the class starts. We were able to extend deadlines for things. We were able to keep students enrolled that otherwise wouldn't have been able to. We streamed lectures. We kind of went back to our COVID mentality of how do we get this? How do we do this? Because we had students that were displaced. There are people still living in FEMA hotels today. And that's the
Wow.
thing, where our building was not impacted. There are so many that have been, and they're all in different places. So we have been working with our students one-on-one and individually. And this is what we do all of the time. But even now, it's even more important. How are you? What do you need? How can we help? Those are the questions that we still continue to ask to this day. And we've given out almost all of the supplies and donations and water that was given to us. Thank you to all of our campuses again. I can't thank them enough. We have already given that out, but there are still so much need. So we've partnered with another nonprofit in this area called Beyond All Borders, and we've been volunteering to help them. They've set up basically a free store in an old Tuesday morning location, and they have everything from cans of soup and pasta and rice to dog beds and coats and clothing and
Yep.
sheets and towels and just all the things that people need. And I happened to be volunteering there, and I heard there was a couple and their baby, and they said they were in a FEMA hotel, and it was one of the second time they'd left that FEMA hotel in 5 weeks. And it's those individuals that we're still working to help. And I've watched people here that said, we didn't lose that much, give to others. I don't want to take any of the free water, give it to someone else. And that kind of spirit and belief and support. So what we're doing with the holiday season coming up for our faculty, staff, and students, we are doing our own giving tree, very similar to an angel tree project, but it's going to be for anyone that is in financial need that has a child at home so that we can help them to provide Christmas. And so we're continuing to try to find ways of, again, how can we help? What do you need?
Mhm.
And what can we do for you to keep you on the track that you so want to be on, which is to be one of those first responders potentially to help others, like our nursing faculty that jumped right back in and worked in the hospitals during those
Yeah,
times.
that's just unbelievable because again, it's just so wrapped in the theme of all of this kind of unexpected tragedy, to your point, fear, uncertainty, not sure where to turn. It is even more, I think, it really gives me goosebumps, honestly, to hear you recount this, but also listening to these stories. I know what we did as a colleague community by helping, by giving, by raising money. But to hear the stories of, your staff, your team, not only rising to the challenge, but again, taking this incredible sort of selfless servant leader approach, including yourself, to say, what do you need? What can we do for students, to help the students hang in there? But even students that are having to step away, you're still that family, you're still helping them. That's just incredible. This has been probably the most enlightening 25 minutes to me in so long. I really want to thank you for being my guest. You and your team truly embody what perseverance means. And I think you've demonstrated truly what leadership and great leadership looks like. I am extremely humbled to be your colleague, and I am very proud to call you my coworker. I have serious goosebumps. Incredible. What an amazing story. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy day. We want to obviously thank you for your time, but also please pass along our thanks to your entire team. It's just an incredible story. And thank you for sharing all of these stories of rise and recovery.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. I can't say enough about our community of people at South College, from Indianapolis to Florida to, or, we just, everyone came together and stepped up, and it was amazing. And we are very thankful of that as well. And again, the faculty, staff, and students here, I couldn't have done any of this without them. And it's amazing at how much, and our students as well have jumped in to help others.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you again, Dr. Kwasnik, the president of our Asheville campus of South College. We'll be right back.
When you start your new path at South College, you'll join students from different walks of life and at varying stages of their lives. Many students are going back to school to finish degrees, while others are pursuing elevated education that will help improve their potential in their current roles for chasing a new direction. South College offers over 100 programs and concentrations with specialized focus on associate, bachelor's, master's, educational specialists, and doctoral degrees in healthcare, business, technology, education, and legal studies.
Welcome back. Time for our parting shot. Now, on to something really exciting. We just heard about Asheville and its recovery and its rise like a phoenix after a grueling few weeks. Well, get ready to feel even better. You already know about our amazing physical campuses across 7 states, plus online and CBE. However, did you know that when you're in Nashville, Tennessee, that South College Nashville operates a fully public-facing dental clinic? As a unique service to the community, South College is proud to offer an open to the public dental clinic with students providing hands-on services under the direct supervision of licensed DDS professionals. The clinic is located in Nashville, Tennessee, at our campus on Marriott Drive near the airport and provides various routine and specialized dental services, including children's services for those in our community. Prices range from no charge up to just $65 for bleaching. And we also provide services for x-rays, cleaning, and exam. Dental services are always free for military veterans, and there's even a 25% discount for all services for all first responders and patients over 65. Call for more information at 629-802-3221 or find more information at south.edu/location/Nashville. What a great and inspiring way to end this month. I hope you enjoyed this latest episode of Live from South College, and thanks for joining me. We have so much more coming your way. If you love it, give us some stars, and you can always send us feedback by emailing us at southcollegepodcast@south.edu. Have an awesome day and let your dreams find direction. See you next time.